Now you're going to create your paragraph first draft. You should have your organizer done, this paragraph organizer, where you worked on that first question. How is Rod Serling trying to influence the audience's perspectives on community and or inclusion in The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street? So my answer to that question is that Serling is trying to get the audience to learn that in order to take over a community, you just need to get people to fight and not be inclusive. After I looked at the posters, I found a quote that I thought would explain that well. Now, in order to turn that into a great, big, beautiful paragraph, I need to do more than just answer those two questions. I need to expand and explain. So, to do that, my paragraph is going to have 5 things: topic sentence, supporting detail, example, explanation, and concluding sentence. And several of these things can be more than just one sentence because we're going to make our writing more complex now that we're in the middle of the school year by adding proof through ideas and through our quotes. So the topic sentence needs to have a number of things. The topic sentence needs to have the author, and it needs to have the actual text that I'm writing about. So I'm talking about The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. It's a play. I want to have it in quotation marks. I have the author, Rod Serling. The other thing that topic sentence needs to do is say the point. What is it that we are claiming in this paragraph? What is the whole paragraph about? What's the answer to that question? So, my topic sentence says, in the story, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, the author Rod Serling is trying to get the audience to learn that in order to take over a community, you just need to get people to fight and not be inclusive. So I have my answer to that question in my topic sentence. Now, the next thing I need to do is a supporting detail. Write 1 to 2 sentences giving details of what happens in the play that show what Rod Serling is trying to do. Now, I don't need to summarize the whole play, but I do need to give some context to my quote. So, throughout the story, there are many examples of this. And the first thing is when the lights go out in Maple Street and they all start blaming a neighbor because named Les, because his car starts mysteriously and he goes outside late at night. After that, they all start accusing a bunch of neighbors based on small things they do that are seen as not normal. At one point, a character named Charlie even shoots a neighbor after assuming he is a monster. And by the end, the whole neighborhood has turned against each other. So I've taken 3 sentences and I've talked about how in this story, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, how in that community, people start to fight and not be inclusive. Now I need to give my example. Pick one quote that proves how Rod Serling is trying to influence the audience. And I need to format it with introducing the quote, and then I write the quote and I put the last name of the author and the page number. So Serling uses lines like, when I use a quote, I need to start with a few words to introduce it. Serling, as the author, uses lines like, you're standing here all set to crucify, all set to find a scapegoat, all desperate to point some kind of finger at a neighbor. I put that in quotation marks because that's the direct quote. And then I put in parentheses, Serling 167. I don't put PG, I just put Serling 167. And then I finish my sentence to show this overall message. So that's where my quote goes. I have my topic sentence, my explanation, I have my quote. Now I need to show how does that quote prove my point? And that's what I do in the explanation. Explain in a few sentences how that quote shows how Rod Serling is trying to influence the audience. This community is so wrapped up in blaming someone that they cannot come together to get to the bottom of their real issue, the power going out. This then teaches the reader that one way to divide people is by not getting them to trust each other. So, both my supporting detail and my explanation should be at least 2 sentences, right? That's not just one quick thing. This is the meat of my paper. This is where I'm really showing how this quote is proving my point. And then finally, I want to restate the topic sentence, but in an interesting way. Overall, Rod Serling points out to the audience throughout this story different ways that they can get communities to fall apart. So, what you need to do is make sure that you are opening a new Google Doc. Whoops. And in that Google Doc, you're going to type the draft of your paper. Follow this format. Use the organizer that you wrote. Use this format. Use that example that I showed you to write your first draft of the monsters paragraph.